We gon' run it, hit the field, blast off, watch them all fall. This is AFC North Talk. Got me hype, it's about to be a touchdown. Got the Ravens, Steelers, Bengals, and the Browns. Are you listening? It's time to get it hype. Tune in when the season poppin'. Yeah, we going live. Hey, knock 'em out. Ay, first down, going hard. Yes, indeed. AFC North Talk. Let's go. Hey, AFC North Talk.
Welcome to AFC North Talk. We are presenting to you guys live tonight, late show. We're going to talk about the record prediction. We're going to talk about some hot takes and just football in general. My man Quincy Carrier, he reps the Browns. We got my man Sonny, aka SCG Sports, repping the Ravens. Me, myself, I'm repping the Bengals. But we're still going to break down the Steelers as well. This is the first show that we have done without our co-host Tony. As you know, if you didn't see the last show, definitely be sure to check that out. That was going to be his last show. He definitely wants to take a break just from podcasting in general, not just AFC North Talk. So well wishes to Tony. I'm sure he's probably in the comment section somewhere. As you guys know, we do the super chats here, so feel free if you have any comments, especially about some of these record predictions or just overall thoughts that you want to get feedback from us on, definitely be sure to hit the chat up. That guarantees that your comment will be read. So with that being said, man, what we're going to do is we're going to go in the order of the division. So we'll start with the Bengals, and then we'll go all the way down and give our predictions. We're not going to say who's going to finish in a certain order, but if you're paying attention and listening and looking at the records that we give, you'll pretty much get what we're getting from there. So kicking things off, we're gonna start with the Bengals. Let's go with Sonny. We'll kick it off with Sonny. What is your prediction for the Bengals record-wise?
Bengals are a good team. Do you want us to also do the hot takes per team?
Oh yeah, we can do the hot takes too. That's cool.
Okay. So I think the Bengals are a good team. I think the Bengals are gonna compete to win the division again. And not only that, the tricky part that I always struggle with the AFC North is who wins the division. Obviously, that's gonna be hard, but because it's such a competitive division, is the winner of the AFC North gonna be? It's gonna definitely be battle wounded enough that can they win the AFC, right? Like nobody in the AFC North has been able to win the Ravens did it the 1 year, the 14-2 year. But after that, I mean, we got second or third for the division, and it's because the other divisions sometimes did not as wounded because the division is so hard, right? Anyway, saying that, I think the Bengals, I'm going to go with an 11-6 record. I think the Bengals, you always the Bengals, similar to the Ravens, they always find a team that they should not lose to. They will lose to, right? This is no knock on them. The Ravens also find a team.
What team they find, Sonny? What team do the Bengals be finding that they shouldn't lose to?
I'm not saying in the division, by the way. I'm saying in a random, like, could be Arizona, for example, right? Like, I'm not saying it will be Arizona.
That's nasty work.
But yeah, but
Arizona, that's crazy.
But no, I'm not saying.
For Josh,
you could at least say Indy,
like,
bro.
They not winning
Indy.
It could be any. I'm not saying it has to be Arizona.
I'm usually all 32 teams can win any given Sunday, except for the team that has a quarterback competition between Josh Dobbs and
the team that just traded 3 players in one day.
Who's the third guy? Clayton Tune. That's their quarterback competition right now. Clayton Tune and Josh Dobbs and Colt McCoy.
By the way, what do you guys got for Dobbs? Conditional?
We got a 4th. We got a 5th.
That's a steal.
Yeah. Trey Lance went for 4th.
That's That's
they
my
gotta
thing.
wanna not like they have the for the Cardinals to be in a situation where that's their quarterback competition, they have to have willfully neglected it. Because like Josh Dobbs for a fifth as your solution is negligent. Now, thank you for trading for Josh Dobbs because like I'll take it, dog. But that's willful negligence that you're like, hey man, it's either Clayton Tune, Colt McCoy, or Josh Dobbs. There were so many, you could have got Teddy Bridgewater. Like there are guys out there. Jacoby Brissett. This is willfully trying to sneak.
Yeah. I mean, I think the Cardinals right now is just they're trying to go for the first overall pick or one of the top 2 quarterbacks, and then cut ties with Kyle. I think they're one of those teams. The what?
Or they might be trying to trade it. You think
about
trade
it. Trade him. Yeah.
The Titans are in a situation where they're going to be desperate to upgrade at quarterback. Somebody's going to want to get one of those too.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't stick with Kyler Murray over Caleb Williams, but if they're already stuck with Kyler Murray, you can't really ditch him. He just signed that contract last year, so you might as well get all the first-round picks in the world.
At this point, they might as well trade Kyler Murray, man. It's clear that they want Caleb Williams there.
Want him. He's 5'8" with the ACL injury. Ace, you traded for him? Who traded for him?
You have to eat a lot of that
depending
money.
on how this goes, maybe the Steelers. The Steelers might be in the market. If
don't talk to the Steelers about that right now. They're in the high.
They are competing with the Chiefs right now, according to Twitter.
Okay, but so I will say this. I think 11-6 is what I'm thinking. I can see them going like if they're super hot through the year 13 and 4, right? 13 and 4, yeah. You can see them. I would say that's probably their ceiling. I mean, they could probably win more, but I can see that floor. I don't see them going below 10. Like I will be shocked if they're below 10. Like if they're 10-7, that I mean, could have been that somebody got injured, or whatever. But with the talent that the Bengals have, 10 will be my floor. Now, I think the division is gonna be competitive, right? We joke about the Steelers, we joke about the division. I can see them splitting with everybody. Like I can see a split with everybody. I mean, that would be my theme with all these teams because I think all these teams in the division can beat one another. I don't think any team is like super below or above the other one. I think all these teams are built to play each other. And then other than that, if you see that the schedule, obviously the Kansas City game will be key. Other than Kansas City, you have Buffalo. I don't know, man. I think the Bengals have Buffalo's number, right? Like not only because they beat them twice, in the last 2 games they beat them twice, but I think they match with Buffalo well.
I think Buffalo low key is going to be kind of disappointing this year too.
I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that. The one team that I think is going to be hard, especially because it's on the road, is San Francisco. That D-line's nasty. Being on the West Coast for that game, yeah, I think that's going to be a tough one. Anyway, I think that if I'm going to go with hot takes, I think for the hot take I have, I don't want this, but I think Henderson goes back to being dominant this year. Trey, I'm gonna say Burrow has a chip in the shoulder and goes for the MVP and gets so he can get the extreme bag next year. But Burrow MVP, and I want to say a bad hot take for the Bengals, but I'm struggling to find one, which is sad. Yeah, those are gonna be my hot takes.
Gotcha. All right. So for me, I kind of see it a little similar to kind of like the ceiling that Sonny's talking about with this Bengals team. seeing them last year kind of go on that streak, getting Orlando Brown. The only concern, though, is the Cleveland game for me. Some of the divisional games I'm not so sure of, especially with them being early, especially with them not having Joe Burrow, in training camp, which that's not a new thing, but still, we saw last year when they had to play a divisional opponent week 1 with a rusty offensive line that didn't play, which they're not reportedly going to play in this preseason finale. That's the only kind of concerns to me. Obviously, Kansas City sticks out. That's in Kansas City again, like Sonny talked about. He talked about the San Francisco game. Buffalo, I'm not so worried about. The Seattle game, I'm actually worried about a little bit more than that one. Jacksonville, obviously, with Trevor Lawrence, is going to be in Florida. That's going to be a pretty good duel there. Obviously, I feel like we're going to split with Baltimore. I think we split with Cleveland. I'm not sure about the Steelers just because of how late it is. With it being so late, it could actually work to the Steelers' advantage because that probably gives Kenny some time there. So with that being said, I think I've got them at 12 wins, but I could see possibly 13, depending on how things go in the division. We'll see. I think Kenny's actually good enough for them to split with us now. And then you talk about the defense that they have and stuff like that. They did it last year. So I probably have them winning between 12 to 13 games. I think the lowest is probably 11, and that's counting for if there's injuries and stuff like that, which you can't predict those, and knock on wood, hopefully we don't have those. But if there is a stretch where somebody's out on the offensive line or you lose 2 or 3 linemen like you did last year, that would make matchups against the Steelers, matchups against the Browns, matchups against anybody with trenches like San Francisco, that would definitely make those games a bit tougher. So I think that they could lose potentially, or they could go down as low as 11 games possibly. But the way that this team is built, the staff continuity from last year, not losing anything from the coaching staff, not having to learn a new system, learning how to play against the 2-high shell last year after they struggled with it, getting Orlando Brown over Jonah Williams, moving Jonah over to the right, less question marks there. I think that they'll be in a good position this season. As far as hot takes, the hot take that I may have is with T heading into a contract year, which I hope he doesn't, because I would like for them to try to get a deal done right before the season starts. But if he does go into the season, I think in a contract year, I think he ends up putting up 1,300 yards this year. I think that this is the year that T. Higgins finally hits that kind of threshold with the 1,300 yards because he's trying to get that check. So I've got T. Higgins. That's my hot take for him. My other hot take is that eventually, probably midway through the season, and I hope players aren't listening to this, but they probably are, or their family members are. I think Nick Scott gets replaced by Jordan Battle, and Jordan Battle becomes the starting safety across from Dax Hill. So Nick Scott doesn't impress, or maybe he gets hurt or something like that, and Jordan Battle comes in and they just have to go to Jordan Battle. So that's kind of a negative, positive one, I guess. But that's what I have for the Bengals.
Question to add to your hot take. So who has more yards, T or Chase?
I think Chase still has more yards. I feel like Chase still finishes with 1,400 yards.
Damn, Joe Burrow about to throw for 5,000.
So 3K between the two almost.
The reason why I feel like it is because Chase had 1,000 yards last year. He missed 5 games. And I think T's always getting at least 1,000. So I could see T if he's because you got to think about it. T misses a lot of games too, right? And he still got 1,000. So I think they get those numbers, but I think the person that's the odd man looking out is probably Tyler Boyd. It's probably Irv Smith. Irv Smith might end up with 200 in that scenario, and then Tyler Boyd might end up with 600 in that scenario or something like that. But I think T being in a contract year is going to be the thing about Jamar Chase, and his dad has said this too, is he can do a lot with a little. So Jamar doesn't need a gang of targets just because of his ability to pretty much make the big play all of the time. So, with Jamar, he doesn't need too many touches. T, I would feel would need more touches, but I think in this situation, they're going to up the targets to T and Jamar, maybe take some away from Tyler Boyd. And the other thing with Irv Smith is, as much as I love Irv Smith, as much as I think that he has potential, he does have an injury history. So me betting that Irv Smith would play 17 games this season, I don't know if I could take that bet. I'd be happy if he played, 15 plus, 14 plus. I think that would be great. But I think in that scenario, if T is able to stay healthy, which I may be taking a gamble there because T has never really finished the season with all of the games. But if he does, I would say that that's my hot take. Those two are probably plus 1,300 yards each.
Okay. Cute.
All right. All right. So my record range for the Bengals is, I think they're probably the floor. I think Sonny's riding the floor being 10. I think their ceiling, if everything clicks for them, this schedule could be pretty favorable. I could see them getting 12 to 13 wins. I'm actually going to predict, and I'll probably regret this, that the Bengals are going to hit that floor for their record. I think they're going to be a 10-win team this year. I think a number of things factor into this. One, attrition. This is a Bengals team that's played 2 very long seasons back to back. Now they're a young team, so they should be able to hang up with that, but not everybody on this team is super young. I think some attrition issues going to come into that. And I am not convinced that this Joe Burrow calf thing is just going to go away once the regular season starts. Now, I don't think he's going to miss like 4 or 5 games to start the season because of it, but it could be something that's just there, right? And in football, sometimes the injuries that don't take you out are the ones that affect your win-loss record the most, because it's things that, like, we've seen this with Lamar Jackson, right? Where he had an injury that was kind of just there. He was able to play, but it clearly affected his ability to play. You can claim Baker Mayfield had a similar situation, even though I disagree with that being why he sucked in 21. But I think this is going to be one of those things where you're waiting to see Joe Burrow hit that second gear, and we're talking about Joe Burrow hitting that second gear all year, and maybe he just doesn't this year, right? And quarterbacks also, it's not rare for a really good quarterback, to just have a down year, right? They're kind of like pitchers in that respect. Aaron Rodgers had a couple of down years before he won 2 MVPs. So I think just the attrition, the amount of time, the amount of football that the Bengals have had to play over the last few years, maybe that starts to add up, and they're not as successful of a team as we think that they should be. Whether they get into the playoffs, 10 wins pretty much a safe bet to get in as a wild card. Who knows who they play, and that will determine how their season goes. As far as hot takes, positive hot takes, I am going to say that the positive hot take will be that a running back other than Joe Mixon will lead this team in rushing. I don't know who. I will say somebody other than Joe Mixon will lead this Bengals team in rushing yards. And a negative hot take will be, this will be a career low in every category of consequence for Joe Burrow. I think he will not throw as many touchdowns as he did last year. I think he will just have a bit of a down year. And we'll be talking about this calf kind of being something that lingers. Maybe he misses a game or 2 because it's acting up. It's going to be something that never allows him to kind of get comfortable. And the reason I say that isn't just because of the injury he got carted off. It's the fact that he had that brace on before, right? It was already something that was popping up. And these calf injuries, sometimes they could be really tricky. They're kind of like back injuries where once you get them,
flare up. Yep.
It takes like a while before it really like settles in and you're like fine and 100%. So I'll go with that for the Bengals.
By the way, Ace, has he been practicing? I don't think he has, right?
He hasn't. He has actually been practicing. He's been like throwing the ball and doing running. So he's been getting.
But not 11 on 11.
Not 11-on-11, but
Okay.
it has been closed to the public, so
Okay.
I don't know if he's actually practicing now or not.
Oh, okay. I see.
But yeah, I think Zach Taylor said he thinks that he probably needs like one practice, and he's been seen like without the sleeve, throwing and stuff with it. So he should be back by week 1. So with that being said, before we switch to the Ravens, let me go through some of these super chats here. So let me get the Ravens schedule queued up for us.
Oh boy,
I'll
hey,
get
like
into some of
the
these super
Bengals
chats.
fans did not like my take there.
Had a feeling that was gonna happen. I was like,
Oh
okay.
god, it gets so bad.
Let's see here. So we got a first one here from Larso for $2. Says last time the Ravens lost, I was 13. Now I'm 21. Crazy.
In the preseason?
It probably what he means.
Oh no, we're not. That's nasty. If that's about the preseason, that's nasty, Larso. That's embarrassing, man.
No, yeah.
Don't
But
do
I
that.
can see losing record. It's about 8 years since the Ravens had a losing record. Or
Yeah,
no,
okay.
not a losing
Let's
record.
hope that that's what it was. Let's hope that we're gonna.
They
You
had
don't
a
wanna-
losing
you-
record in 16, right?
We had the year we had Stanley, we had 5 wins. That was the year that Flacco got injured. I can't remember when Stanley was. It was about 8 years. I can't remember. But yeah, it can be preseason, Larson. You cannot be. Come on.
Well, I think ironically, that's when the preseason streak started. Was when the Ravens were probably the worst version of themselves, which is why preseason success is always hilarious. But
it is hilarious.
By the way, shout out to the 2017 Browns. They won the preseason championship, baby. You know what they did win? A game. Like in the
Don't want to cut Sonny's face off while we're doing these super chats, so I'll do that and bring it back up. But Sammy Football here for $1.99 says somebody's gonna get hurt after week 1. Ace, sure. I don't
Hopefully
know.
not.
I mean, it's the NFL. Let's hope not. Maybe somebody. I don't know.
That's
Who Joe Power
vague.
9? Yeah, it is. $2. Do you think the Bengals wide receiver trio is the best in NFL history?
Who they Joe Power? So
for me, I think best in history, you have to at least have 3 1,000-yard receivers, which they haven't been able to do yet. I think the Cardinals did it with Steve Breston and Anquan Bolden and Larry Fitzgerald, and I believe the Colts did it before that. So I would say no. If they can do that and try to win like a Super Bowl, maybe they're in that conversation. But, they got to do it first. Tony said, who is this guy? Tony Serino. Don't know who this guy is. Stranger. Haven't seen this guy around before. Probably a troll, likely troll.
Yeah.
Says Q wrong Mike. I think Q's got that switched up. Then we got Silent Wolf here for
Thanks to that
$1.99.
super chat.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it. First stream free of Tony's yoke.
Wow.
I don't know what Tony's yoke is. What is
I feel like that's a comment on his head.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
Come on,
guys.
Hey, we can make fun of his head. You can't. You know what I mean?
Tony Serino. Still don't know who this guy is, man. No idea. New guy. Haven't seen him before.
I think this is who they Joe Powers burner.
Flip it and ship it. Bengals fear Kenny. Kenny Lofton? I don't know. Who they Joe Power? Kenny Chessie. Who they Joe Power?
Kenny Bridgewater.
$2 says we lose to the 49ers due to a Purdy game-winning drive. So who they Joe Power? Big 49ers
same guy that's Nova Stone.
Yeah.
Do Nova Stone and who they Joe Power ever
and the same shot.
Same time.
Goodness.
Oh,
Ray Rags, $10. Ace, do you think the Bengals leave Orlando Brown one-on-one with Garrett in week 1, even though he's better than what they've had? Leaving anyone one-on-one with Myles Garrett is asking for him to ruin your game plan. So for me, appreciate that for the $10 too, bro. Really appreciate that. If I'm being real, this is the same staff that put Jonah out there one-on-one. If it were me, there's no way in hell that I'm leaving Myles Garrett one-on-one with anybody. I don't care if it's Orlando Brown. I don't care if I had Lyle Collins or whoever in. So for me, I wouldn't do it. Will they do it? Possibly, like Orlando Brown is the guy that they paid all the money to come in and play left tackle. There may be a little bit, I don't want to say an ego thing, but I think he's out to prove that he can play left tackle. So some guys let the ego thing get into their head and they're like, I want the challenge of taking Myles Garrett on one-on-one. So I think that they'll probably start the game like that. If Myles Garrett starts to disrupt the game, I think they'll pivot and try to add like some chip blockers or some double teams on Myles. But it's hard to do that because you guys also have Zadarius Smith. So I could actually see us trusting him to go one-on-one because the Bengals apparently feel like if you double team one guy, that's going to free up somebody else. So I think that they'll at least try to go one-on-one. I don't think it's a good approach. But if I'm being real, I think the staff would probably try to do one-on-one with him. And they're probably going to try to do one-on-one with Jonah against Zadarius Smith, which is terrifying.
That's the one I would be worried about. What do they do if Jonah's out there at right tackle, learning a new position, and then the Browns are like, we're just going to move Myles to the right side?
Mm-hmm. That's what I was thinking.
I'm not trying to say that I'm a Jonah hater. I'm just – the reason that I have been quiet, guys, is because he is going against Zadarius Smith week 1. After I see him at right tackle against Zadarius Smith, I am not buying this whole he's a preseason camp MVP. Wait until he lines up across from Zadarius Smith, dog. That will tell me all I need to know.
You want to know who the Browns preseason camp MVP was last year?
Who was it?
Cade York.
Jared Wills? Who?
Cade York.
Cade York. Oh,
wait,
God.
didn't he miss already this year?
Replace. Huh?
He missed already this year, right?
He's missed 4 field goals this preseason.
He's missed a couple.
Yeah.
And this is in good condition right now. Like, this is as good as it's gonna get in the AFC.
Hey, man, I just need the Browns
to
go ahead.
Keep 41 yard.
Keep that man.
My man missed a 41-yard game winner. A 41-yard game winner. He had 2 chances at it. One was from 47. They got a penalty. He got moved up to 41, and he missed both of them.
Hey, man, just make sure he's on the roster week 1, man. We need that.
And he posted. He went 3 for 3 from like some short field goals earlier in the game, and at halftime, his Instagram account was celebrating that. Now he says it wasn't him, but yeah, the fact that somebody in your circle felt it necessary to point out that you were 3 for 3 in a preseason game tells me everything where you're at mentally.
Oh man, he admitted it. Larso admitted that he is a preseason champion. He's got the preseason banner.
Oh my
He's got
God,
he said, "I'm saying the last time we lost a preseason game, I was 13."
Don't admit that shit. Come on.
That's nasty work.
Come on, man. To be fair, like 2012, his actual Super Bowl, that man was like 7. He was like in 1st grade. He don't know nothing about that.
True. Super chat from this stranger for $5. 8 seasons since a losing record is rookie numbers. 16 seasons that the Steelers have not had a losing record. Good friend of the show, Nova Stone. We spoke him up. $2 super chat. Appreciate that, Nova.
Now look for who they
is going for his second MVP and reclaim the best NFL QB crown. Okay,
so he's up on LJ this year. Well, right now,
I thought he was first.
He's up on LJ.
It's a little roller coaster.
Nova Stone be treating that Lamar Jackson stock like he Leonardo DiCaprio in The Wolf of Wall Street. He just be shorting, selling, buying it back, all kind of stuff's going on with his stock in Lamar.
Got another one here before we get into the Ravens. Appears to be from a Ravens fan. Habitual line stepper says, I got the Bengals finishing 12-5, second in the division.
I know you're
be nasty.
Winning 13 games. Come on now. Come on.
You know what that means? The Ravens is winning 13 plus. Dog.
For real.
Speaking of the Ravens, man, should we go to Q or should we go to Sonny? Let's go to Sonny first, and then we're gonna go to Q, man. And we'll end it with me.
Yeah, for the Ravens, look, the Ravens have early in the year. If you see those week 4, 5, and 6, there's 3 road games, right? 2 in the division. Not a particularly fan of those coming up right there. The schedule overall, it's not that it's terrible. We get San Francisco at home, right? We get San Francisco away like the Bengals. And that for me is gonna be a tough game. We like going west. Same thing for a West Coast team going east, right? It's just hard. Um, I think similar to the Bengals. I think our floor is 9. I think the floor for the Ravens is 9. Parting injury. I will keep saying this. I'm just assuming no bad injuries. I'm gonna go with 9 for the Ravens as the floor. The ceiling. I have the ceiling. It could be 13. It could be 13. I have them right now. Similar to the Bengals, 11-6. I actually think they're gonna finish 11-6. That early part of the schedule is gonna be a factor because right now the Ravens, Marlon Humphrey just got surgery. He might be ready for week 2. We shall see. So obviously that the corner situation at the beginning of the year is gonna be a little bit questionable with a lot of guys banged up, not necessarily like hurt, but banged up. 11-6. I have the Ravens. I think they're gonna split the division, right? 3-3. I think that Niners game is gonna be hard. I have us those 4 losses. There's gonna be a loss that I don't see that we're gonna get. I don't think it's gonna be the Cardinals, Q, but it could be. Who knows? It's gonna be like a dumb team that we lose to.
Well, somebody's losing to the Cardinals in this division. That's the thing.
Yeah, yeah. The thing is, so we played the West this year, right? We all do. The Cardinals, in theory, is the weakest team in that division. The Rams is not that strong either, right? So those are the 2 weakest in that division, and then you get the Niners, which is a very good team, very strong team. We get them late in the year, which whoever the quarterback is going to be settled, versus having them early in the year. And then you get the Seattle Seahawks, another good team. Although I think the Seattle Seahawks will come back to earth a little bit, in my opinion. It's still a good team. Anyway, I have us winning 11. It's this division for me, our division. It's super hard to predict. I think all 4 teams have a really strong chance to compete to win the division. That being said, I think the Ravens finish 11. My hot takes. Look, I'm gonna have hot takes that I this is like I'm gonna put a candle once I get my house and I'm out of the hotel. Can I get a 10 sack team? 10. I don't even care who it is. Give me a 10 sack player, either Odafe or Jabo. You know what? It would be crazy if Clowney comes here and does it for us, right? Because I think Clowney has never got to 10. I
think he got to it once.
Once? Okay.
Yeah, in Houston. He almost got to it in Cleveland. He got the 9 in Cleveland.
And
that was with Myles Garrett on the other side.
Yeah, which we don't have. And
he got the 10 with peak JJ Watt.
No, that's right. He was nasty. Yeah. Okay, so a 10 sack by a Raven player. I'm gonna go with JK Briggs. Might be who. I don't even care who. Give me JK for 1,000 yards rushing. I think he's motivated for getting that contract. Probably like closer to 12, but in this offense, we'll see. And I'm gonna go with we're gonna get a rookie for the Ravens winning the offensive rookie of the year in Flowers. And I'm gonna go Odell getting 1,000 yards on top of that. So those are my hot takes for the Ravens.
Let me make everybody mad. See, y'all thought my hot take was hot about the Cincinnati Bengals. I know they was mad at me about my Cincinnati Bengals hot take, saying that they're gonna go 10-7. It's got nothing on my Baltimore Ravens hot take. Is Tanya in chat? She about to be mad, man. She about to be mad because I think the Ravens are going to be a very angry, very frustrated 8-9 team this year. They have all of the makings to it to me. Now, could they have a crazy range, right? They're one of those teams that I can see them winning 8 games. I can see them getting like 11 or 12, right? I think their range is wild because that defense is so good, and there are some compelling pieces on that offense. This comes down to a few things for me. One, injuries with this Baltimore Ravens team. It's been a problem for them for years, at the worst times, at the best times, and it already has popped up with Marlon Humphrey being out, going to miss a portion of the beginning of the season. You look at the offensive changes that they have. Now, how much of the G-Roll run style are they going to fit? Is it going to be this kind of bastard offense where they're trying to morph two styles that don't really morph together in this Todd Monken air raid and this like pistol heavy wide zone run scheme that they have with G-Roll? Like, is that what they're going to do? I don't know. There's a lot of like things going on with that offense, moving pieces in that offense that I don't trust. Odell Beckham's another one. We talk about Lamar Jackson missing the end of 2 seasons with injury. I don't think Odell's finished the season healthy since he was like in New York, and that was like his 2nd or 3rd year in New York. It's been a very long time since he hasn't required some type of surgery in the offseason, some type of rehab, and he's only older and he's only had more injuries. I just don't know if you could trust that. Now, I like Zay Flowers. I think he's going to be a great player. I think, he's probably going to be somebody who, Sonny's right, is in that conversation for Offensive Player of the Year. I think Mark Andrews is good, but also Lamar does have an injury history. Does that pop up this year? And we talk about this all the time, Sonny. When does Lamar get hurt?
At the end.
Well, no, not just at the end. Like, specifically, his injuries tend to happen where?
On the pocket.
He's going to have to stay in the pocket and hold that ball longer to get the ball downfield to do some of this air raid stuff that Todd Monken likes to do, which is going to leave him in the pocket more often, which means that he's going to be more susceptible to injury than I think anybody is anticipating, because we have this false conception where it's like Lamar runs, Lamar gets injured. Lamar stays healthy when he runs because he's out of bounds. He's not taking those hits. When he has to play within the pocket, he's more susceptible to injury because there's just bodies flying around. Everybody is so desperate to tackle him in the pocket that it makes like the energy that people are coming at you with there so much more volatile. Guys are like diving at his ankles, just desperate to bring him down, to the point where he's more susceptible than most quarterbacks would be in that situation. And then I flip over to the defense, and the defense is good, but that pass rush is concerning because right now I'm just giving Baltimore the benefit of the doubt. I've seen them be able to get pass rushers started without any marquee names. We saw this at the beginning of Matt Judon's run where he wasn't anybody. He turned into somebody in the Baltimore Ravens system and was able to produce. But let's say they don't get that pass rush going. Then all of a sudden, they're open to so many different problems, right? There's no Marcus Peters level second corner on this team, right? They went to Rock Ya-Sin, who's not Marcus Peters. He's never been Marcus Peters, and he's not a real replacement for him. He's a decent corner, but he's not a real number 2 corner, in my opinion. I don't really love that choice there. And then you have a situation where, hey, if you're not getting a ton of pressure and teams feel like they can throw on you and don't have to run the ball to move, then that takes away what Roquan is best at. Now, I know I have my hot takes about Roquan Smith. Yeah, people won't ever let me forget if he has a good year this year. But keep in mind, I'm not saying Roquan Smith's not a good linebacker, but I think he's more in line with the CJ Mosley than he is one of the best linebackers in the NFL or an elite tier linebacker like everybody says he is. And I say that because he has a glaring and obvious weakness. He is not a great coverage linebacker. And if you forced him out there in base and they need to keep Roquan out on the field and you put him in more coverage situations, I can see a spot where a team like the Browns decides we're going to attack that, where a team like the Cincinnati Bengals, who have wide receivers galore, decide, hey, we're going to spread them out in base, force Roquan to cover Tyler Boyd or T. Higgins, and just exploit that all game. And then all of a sudden, this defense that was really good last year seems to have some holes that they can't patch. I think there's a lot of ways Baltimore can go wrong here. And I think of the 4 teams, I can see it going wrong the most with Baltimore. So I think hey, they have a tremendous range. They could be a good team, but if I'm putting my fork in the sand, if I'm putting my foot down and saying something and putting a hot take down, it's 8-9. I think this is going to be a very frustrated single-digit win team this year because I just see a lot of transition needing to happen before the Todd Monken thing can pay off, before all of the changes that they made offensively can pay off. They're a step in the right direction, but I don't think that step's going to be this year. I think they're going to be very frustrated this year.
Let me say something real quick.
Go ahead, Sonny.
For Rowe, right? Rowe is excellent in coverage in the zone coverage scheme, where he tends to struggle, which a lot of linebackers do as well, is in the man-to-man scheme, right? And I agree with you in something, Q. If we don't have any pass rushing, like if a pass rushing is non-existing from the outside backer position, from the D-line position, then yes, there's a lot of pressure for that secondary, from the linebackers to the corners to the safeties, right? I do think McDonald has been very creative, right? It's not like this is the first year without us saying, well, who's the Ravens pass rush gonna be, right? So McDonald has been creative in the past couple of years. And
last year they did have like Justin Houston there, like a legitimate pass rusher, old, but still like somebody who was productive. This year it's like Jadavion's in the Justin Houston role, and I don't know. I don't love that.
Yeah, I mean, I we'll see. I'm not here putting pom-poms for Jadavion either. I want to see what Ojabo can do. But yeah, the Ravens defense usually gets creative, right? But something that the Ravens fan base needs to understand. It's funny because everybody that goes from Peter King to RG3 to, I mean, a lot of pundits that have been in the Ravens practice, they all been like, oh my God, Ravens fans, you're going to love this offense, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be so fun. I'm like, okay, I mean, in practice might look good, but it's the same thing we argue in the preseason, right? We talk about practice, we talk about preseason, the game is a different level. And as a Ravens fan, we all have to understand there's going to be some struggles. Like any offense that goes through a transition, any defense that goes through a transition, there's going to be a learning curve. Now, if we hit it right out of the bat and because the one thing that they can, even though the Ravens are adjusting an offense, the defense are adjusting to the Ravens and offense, right? And the question is, are the defense and the league going to be adjusted quicker than the Ravens can adjust an offense, right? That's the question. But I don't disagree with some of your concerns. And for me, the pass rusher is a concern. And the corners also, but the pass rusher has been a concern for a while.
All right. Before I give my take, let me get into a couple more super chats. We got Phil Steyer here for 199 says DeJuan Jones versus Jordan Davis pay-per-view fight. Who you got? Q, who
the
you
scale.
got?
That's who I have.
The scale.
Tony Sereno with a $5 super chat saying the Ravens record without factoring in injuries is the hottest take so far.
Tony, I'm thinking about you something here, but I can't say because we'll get demonetized.
Oh, Rex Fortune, $5 super chat. Appreciate that, Rex. Cardinals whoop Pittsburgh. Josh Dobbs, 24 of 30 for 360 yards.
That would be nasty. That would be nasty.
That's nasty. That's nasty, dog. Like that's not even part of Pittsburgh that might sneak. Like what? What are you doing here? He's doing that on TJ Watt. Okay, like I know Pat P. Oh, but damn, like, who's he throwing the ball to in Arizona? What, Marquise Brown? I think
Hollywood.
Man. That is an 300-yard gettable team right there.
Larso with the $5 super chat says, I'm saying I was 13 years old now. I'm 21. Crazy they won for 8 years. Not bragging. Just crazy. A crazy stat as a large part of my life has passed. Why? Bad to admit. You're not bragging, but you spent 3 super chats just to bring up that they haven't lost a preseason game in 8 years, but you're not bragging because preseason games don't count.
But Ace, we got to give him some grace here because Raven fans do legitimately celebrate this. Like I've seen it. This is I knew about the streak before it ended. Like this is how I know they be talking about it. They be selling about it.
That is nasty work.
It ain't his fault. That's the Ravens fan base's fault for celebrating that preseason streak.
None of the Bengals offensive starters outside of Jonah Williams has played in any of these preseason games.
Hey,
to be fair, right?
Just telling me that
Lamar hasn't played. Yeah, I don't think Lamar has played either, right?
None of the starters, only Flowers.
Did he play any of the last year ones?
I don't think he played last year.
They went him in like the fourth.
But y'all did some tricky stuff, bro, because y'all threw in like AJ. Not AJ, but what's the third quarterback?
They did try to win that one year. What year was that?
Week 18. The guy we played week 18.
Brown?
Anthony Brown. Y'all threw him in, and then you threw in the Pro Bowler after him. I'm like, I think they slick.
Maybe he got hurt. Maybe he got hurt.
No. They threw in Anthony Brown out there early, and then they put in the Pro Bowl guy, the QB2, Huntley. They put him in later. I'm like, oh, okay.
By the way, Huntley can't even defend a preseason crown. Fraud.
He hasn't been playing.
Crown is crazy. Professor Chaos, $5 super chat here, was wondering if you could add a pic of Tony with the big hat on during the stream.
No.
Wish we could, bro.
Request denied.
Hot take from Flight Team 2323. Big Jordan fan. Appreciate that, bro. $4.99. Hot take. Tyler Boyd will have more receiving yards than OBJ.
How's that a hot take?
That won't happen.
How's that a hot take? I think Tyler Boyd's had more yards than OBJ before.
Yeah.
Like multiple times.
All right. Got another one here from Habitual Line Stepper $4.99. Unbiased opinion.
If Odell gets over 762 yards, you're going to be ecstatic about that. Like, yeah, that's not a hot take. Like,
Ravens finished 13-4, finish in first place. Division winners. Unhealthy floors 11-6.
Oh,
wow. Hot take. We going to start faster than people think. And we got another one here from People for $2. He did it 3 times because you were confused. Like what? Not sure what that's in reference to.
They defended their preseason crown. That's why. They defended the preseason championship. They defended it.
This is nasty. I'm not discussing preseason records, preseason stats, preseason streaks.
Whoa. Hey, don't be this in the preseason. The Steelers fan will not be happy with you with the preseason stats.
Watch out, Ravens. Somebody took your crown.
5 possessions, 5 touchdowns in the preseason. Like,
perfect rating.
This is getting nasty. First,
if we're doing preseason awards, right? They're putting Kenny Pickett as the MVP of the preseason, NFL preseason.
Now we're getting. I even got some
BTR's rookie of the year
about a pass rush win rate for the preseason. Like, I don't want to hear about that. Like, look at his pass rush win rate in the preseason. It's crazy. We got to keep this guy now. Like, this is nasty.
Have you heard the Austin Watkins debate in Cleveland?
No, I have not.
Oh yeah, people want us to cut a 3rd round pick because Austin Watkins is playing well in the 4th quarter.
Oh my god, it's insane. For me, the Ravens. I think there's some additional questions with this Ravens team before I get into my record. Number one, we haven't seen the offense at all. So, like, the thing that's weird to me is the way that the approach that the Steelers are taking, with Matt Canada and the offense that they played in last year. That's the approach that I actually thought Baltimore would take, being that it's a brand new offense. You got new players in that system. And you even saw in Denver with Sean Payton, he played a lot of his starters in some of those instances for a whole half just to get them comfortable. The fact that they haven't played with those guys in the game at all is somewhat concerning. I think the offense is better. I think, though, that they will possibly risk getting off to a slow start, which I think anybody – if you're playing any system, whether it's whoever, it's always tough to kind of get that system cranked up and going. The other question that we didn't talk about either is Marlon Humphrey being out. Marlon Humphrey's out for a month, but Pro Football Doc and his team thinks that he could be out longer than a month given the severity of the injury in his position, being that he's a corner and would have to cut and do all of these things. So if they go into this season without Marlon Humphrey, and they already kind of had, in my opinion, cornerback questions, I just don't know where that puts them at, because this was a team that just last year or just last season before they got Roquan, don't forget that they were the worst pass defense in the NFL. So, without Marlon Humphrey, where does that put them? Even with all of those concerns, can Lamar Jackson stay healthy? I still have them winning 10 games, but there's a couple of games where I just don't know which way they could go while they're trying to learn this offense, while they're trying to get this Marlon Humphrey situation under control, and how those other guys in the secondary step up. It's not just losing Marlon Humphrey. It's losing Marlon Humphrey. It's losing Marcus Peters. They also had a guy in the slot. His name escapes me because he got hurt all the time, but he was a good slot corner that they had. He was a smaller guy. Not Anthony Averett. No, he's a smaller guy.
You do Pepe Williams?
Nah, not Pepe Williams.
Are you talking about Washington? Or Darius?
No, he was always hurt all of the time. You guys drafted him. He was a small guy.
Tavon Young.
Yeah. So, everybody's like, man, would Tavon come back? And then Tavon would come back and get injured immediately again.
Yes. They went from having, really 3 good corners that you could really count on to now they're being question marks. I still gave them the benefit of the doubt with Marlon Humphrey. Now he's not there. You got Ronald Darby in there. You've got Rocket Sin in there, which, are they going to be used to that scheme? Are they going to play better in the scheme? They may play better in the scheme, but they're not Marlon Humphrey, dog. Like that's an all-pro level player that's on that defense. Now you might say Roquan is the best. I don't think Marlon's too far behind him. But even with that, still got them going at 10 games. The floor, though, I think could be 9 games. I think they could go 9-8 if some of those things don't work out. If they start to click early and they're able to get through the Marlon Humphrey injury, and this isn't a thing that lingers, because I think that would be the first 3 games that they would be without him. They may be able to get by with that. I do think that it's going to get them problems against us in week 2. With them coming to pay for without Marlon Humphrey, with our receivers. But, if they don't have him week 4, that could potentially be one that's tough for them as well with the Browns, because they got some weapons there too. OBJ, I think OBJ will be solid. I actually think Zay Flowers is going to be the best receiver out of this core. I think out of all of them, I don't think that's a hot take anymore per se, because a lot of people are talking about Zay Flowers. But, I mean, you kind of got to go with the younger guy. Most people don't have film on him. They don't have tape on him. And I think that he's shown this preseason, he's actually been out there. He's been explosive. I don't even think we've seen OBJ this preseason. That's another person that we haven't seen, I believe, from the Ravens. And I think Rashad Bateman is back now, but we also, I don't think, have seen him either. Hot takes for this team. Hot takes. A good hot take, I would say, J.K. Dobbins stays healthy this season and has a good season. So I think J.K. Dobbins staying healthy the entire season will end up putting up probably a top 15 running back performance. You guys probably think that I'm a J.K. slander, but my problem with him has always just been he can't stay healthy. Not that he's not a good running back. So I think that he stays healthy this season. I think Lamar stays healthy as well. Especially with that contract. I think that there will be injuries that he will just play through if he does have any. So I think Lamar will be healthy. I think the offense will work. I think it may take some time to get there, but I think eventually this offense works. Now, am I saying that they're going to be a top 5 offense in the NFL in terms of just lighting people up like the Chiefs? Or I don't think it'll be that, but I think it'll be good enough. And it'll probably catch people off guard to the point where they're trying to figure out how to stop it. Bad ones, they're going to struggle without Marcus Peters. And I mean, not Marcus Peters. Yeah, I will say that, because I was going to say Marlon Humphrey, but I think it's more hot take-ish if I say Marcus Peters, because I think that they're kind of underestimating how solid he was, even though he took chances. This was still a guy that was like a Pro Bowl level cornerback. So I think they will feel that impact. Bad hot takes again. I'm going to go with the opposite of Sonny. I don't think anybody on this team is getting 10 sacks. I don't think any individual is getting 10 sacks. They still might, collectively have a lot of sacks, but I don't think any one individual on this team will have 10 sacks.
Do you think?
Go ahead.
I will say this. I think that the Ravens linebackers, their stand-up linebackers, have more sacks than
the edge rusher?
Than Jadeveon Clowney and Odafe Owe combined.
Oh, that's a big hot take. I like that one.
So those three starting linebackers, stand-up linebackers.
Combined?
Yeah.
We'll have more sacks.
Make it Pat Queen and Roquan. We'll have more sacks than.
I would just put it as linebackers because you never know, like somebody gets hurt, whatever. I still think.
I want to make this as spicy as possible. I'm not making it safe. I'm saying Pat Queen and Roquan are going to have more sacks combined than Jadeveon Clowney and Odafe Owe.
I can't even.
That's a hot take, bro.
Yeah.
Bouquet is going to be the leading sacker.
Yeah, he's looking for a contract.
Mm-hmm. He will get like 6 of them, 6.5. That's going to be the leading number for the Baltimore Ravens.
All right. I think next we will be. Is it the Steelers next? Okay.
See, I'm not a Roquan hater. That's me not hating on Roquan right there. You know what I mean? Can I get my credit? Can I get my credit for being fair about Roquan?
I mean, you could be talking about Pat Queen.
I'm talking about both Pat Queen and Roquan. The combination, Sonny. You know what I mean? I fear them getting shots.
The combination.
The combination.
Right. Well, I'm getting this up here. Let me answer a couple of super chats first.
I wonder if Tony's still here for the Steelers takes now.
Oh, he's waiting. Tony's sitting back somewhere with that Duck Hodges hat on.
Look, there's like 2 preseason games on. He definitely
knows it's coming.
There's 2 preseason games on, and college football week 0 is tomorrow. I promise you, this man is preparing himself by betting on one of these preseason games. Like, his season starts tomorrow, y'all. He might have to go to bed early. Like, that might be. Was that Notre Dame game at 4:00?
Oh, that's in Ireland, yeah.
All right, we got a super chat here. Actually, let me see. We got one here from Firepower for $2. He said something and you're confused about what he said. I think they're still talking about preseason.
No, we understood what he was saying.
Yeah, we understood. We were
like, hey, man.
We were trying to shoot him some bail. We were like, okay, I know he's not bragging about the preseason, right? Like, let's just say it was something else. Let's just dress it up.
You could have been like, hey, man, John Harbaugh been on this team since I was 7. You know what I mean? Like, that would have been more that would have had as much credence as that preseason streak. But I get it. It's been a thing. It's been a thing for a while for them. I'll defend the preseason streak. You know what I mean?
Away on the last super chat. He hung himself with that one.
Let my man live, man. You know what? Dude who super chatted about the preseason game, I understand what you were saying. You were appreciating the length of the streak.
Yep.
The coincidence of it all.
Professor Chaos, $5 super chat here. Unbiased opinion: the Cleveland Browns record will be 14-3. Hot take: Deshaun Watson wins MVP.
That's a volcano
Deshaun Watson to win MVP, given what the current media landscape is on
has
him.
To be unreal.
He would have to go for 6,000 yards and like 70 touchdowns, and Pat Mahomes would have gotten injured. Like, there's no way.
Leo Sell with the $10 super chat. Appreciate that, Leo. Steelers back on top this year.
On top of the bottom.
Has them hyped. I don't know. Preseason.
Hey, they're back on top of the preseason for sure.
There's a lot of preseason action going on here.
Yeah,
Ray Rags.
Some nice throws in the preseason.
Ray Rags has the $5 super chat. OBJ has only played 16 games once since 2016 and only twice his whole career. The most yards he's had since 2016 is 1,052.
This is why the Tyler Boyd thing wasn't a hot take. Like, that's a Tyler Boyd season right there. Like, a low thousands. Like, that's It's not a hot take to say Tyler Boyd's younger. He's not been injured. Why wouldn't he have more yards than Odell? And that's not disrespectful to Odell. He's not the number one receiver there. Neither is Tyler Boyd, but Tyler Boyd's in the offense is going to emphasize him a little bit more than Odell. Like they're trying to get the ball to Zay Flowers. They're going to be trying to get the ball to Rashad Bateman as long as he's healthy.
Mark
Andrews, yep.
Oh yeah, Mark Andrews. Like he's not a focal point in that offense. But the question becomes like, what if Rashad Bateman gets hurt again? What if Odell Beckham gets hurt again? And it's just Zay Flowers with nobody bigger out there to really protect him. Then you run into issues.
Yeah, Nelson for $5. It's continuing. Watching delayed, but why was Larso wrong or bad? He didn't.
See, this is why I defended it. You know what I mean? So we don't got to.
Bengals fan, the streak is wild. Please explain. I'm confused.
Yeah, it's great.
I mean, how is that not a bragging if you're like, we haven't lost since I was 8 in the preseason? Like, what?
It is bragging. Like, they're wrong about that. You are bragging, right? You are like, yo, look at this thing we've done in the preseason. And I don't think people understand that you open yourself up for jokes when you're like, yo, look at this dope thing we've done in the preseason. It's never like something that people are going to take very seriously.
They literally got rid of a preseason game. They got rid of a whole game because they did not care about
extra win for the Baltimore Ravens. They got rid of an extra win for them every year.
They tried to cut our wins.
You know what I mean? They put you on Monday night. I guess that streak couldn't hold up the prime time. Is really what we're talking about. You know what I mean? Baltimore Ravens folding in the spotlight.
All right.
No, fumbling in the spotlight. Much like what happened last year in the playoffs.
We got the Steelers here. I'm going to start this one off. So I do think that the Steelers, we've learned our lessons here. I think the past, since we started this show, never to expect the Steelers to just be a below 500, 4-win team, which I have said before on this very show. The Steelers are winning 4 games this year. Yeah, Steelers are winning 4 games this year. Plus 5. Wait,
no, did you not? Okay.
Plus 5. So
I was about to say, like, we
9 games this year.
All we gotta do is throw the out, man. Like
I got them going 9-8 right now, just because I think Kenny has looked good. But if you remember back to what I said about Kenny on draft night, I said, welcome to the Andy Dalton experience. I didn't say, welcome to the Jamarcus Russell experience. I said, welcome to the Andy Dalton experience, which means that the Steelers will win games. They'll win them. Kenny will have some games where he looks really good. Kenny will have games where he looks very pedestrian. Kenny will have bad games. But what will happen is you'll be competitive, and then you'll run into a team with a really good quarterback, or you might go into the playoffs round 1, and it's going to be an early exit. That is the Andy Dalton experience. So do I think Kenny's going to flame out? No. I think the fact that they have a lot of talent around him, Minka, you talk about George Pickens, which they show highlights of him doing illegal stuff every day and celebrating it like it would be legal in the game. It's fine. They have Najee Harris, which – obviously
Jalen Warren
is better than Najee. And then you got Cam Hayward, who just keeps proving people wrong, right? I wrote him off last year on this show. He clearly did not show any signs of slowing down. Then they ended up bringing in Pat P, which I think solidifies that defense. So I think that they'll be competitive around the division. The other reason that I think that they can win a lot of games, though, is because of the schedule. The NFL did them a very big favor. There's a lot of cupcake games in this schedule. When you look at the Houstons of the world, which they may be better, but it's still Houston. You look at the Raiders, that's a cupcake. You look at the Rams, that's a cupcake. Green Bay, we don't even know what they are now. Now, Jordan Love looked promising, but we still don't know what they are. That's potentially a cupcake one. Arizona, that's a cupcake for everybody in this division. Indy, you are playing AR-15 late, but if AR-15 flames out, that thing could be another cupcake as well, depending on how that goes. So, the schedule that they were given is a little favorable for them, I think, but I see them winning 9 games.
Josh Allen game, baby.
don't know if Mike Tomlin is going under 500, dog. So I'm gonna put them at 9-8. So I've got the Steelers at 9-8. As far as hot takes, Jaylen Warren by the end of the season is RB1, dog. Harris is out of there. Najee Harris is out of there, dog. He's out.
It's not hot.
He doesn't fit.
That is the appropriate take.
Let's see. Hot take: Kenny Pickett will throw under 20 interceptions.
That's the bar. That's the bar.
All right.
He had 9 last year, dog. He had 9 last year. So
all right. Single-digit interceptions for Kenny Pickett is what you're going for.
So hot good takes. I think George Pickens is wide receiver 1. He emerges, makes the statement for them that he's wide receiver 1. Definitely not Allen Robinson. Oh, here's another hot take. Allen Robinson is going to get replaced by Calvin Austin, dog. I've been saying it. I've been on the Calvin Austin train for a while. He's finally showing some of those flashes in the preseason. That's probably a lukewarm take for Quincy because it's Allen Robinson, dog.
I just do this show from the future. You know what I mean? Like 3 years ago, I was right here on Allen Robinson. Y'all had to catch up to me. You know what I mean?
So yeah, that may be a little bit of a lukewarm take. But that's what I had the Steelers. I got them going 9-8. I think the ceiling could be 10. I think the ceiling could be 10. I think the ceiling for this team, if they are in terms of the division, would be finishing second in the division. I think it's a little too early for them to be number 1 in the division, given the teams that are here. I think the ceiling is 10. I think the floor is 9. I don't see them being under 500.
All right. Let me talk about these Steelers. Have I had my mind changed by what I've seen in the preseason? And the answer is a little bit. But that's only because I think I was lower on Kenny Pickett than anybody else in here. Do I think he's going to be Nate Peterman? No, I don't think he's going to be Nate Peterman. I think he's Kenny Bridgewater. I think that's where he's going to be. Kenny Bridgewater.
I love it.
Teddy Bridgewater was a starter for a little while. So I think we're going to see a little Kenny Bridgewater. Hey, they both wear gloves. Both got small hands. You know what I mean? Kind of similar prospects both coming out. So, yeah, Kenny Bridgewater, I think he'll be fine. Not going to be spectacular. Not going to blow anybody away. He'll make a couple throws that'll get people excited. I think the thing with Kenny Bridgewater is after a while, people are going to start noticing that the flashes are just flashes, right? We all hope that the flashes turn into sustainable fire in the future. I think the flashes are just flashes. Now, it would be crazy if this Steeler team peaked in the preseason. That would be crazy if they peaked in the preseason. But I do think that they're going to be a solid enough team. I think they'll probably win 9 games this year. That's where I would go with them. I think defensively, they're going to be solid enough. Offensively, it depends on how long they hang on to like this whole idea that Najee Harris is going to be their running back 1, right? If they let go of that one relatively quick, then they'll definitely get to 9. But if they hang on to that one, they might run into some trouble. There also, how's that offensive line going to look early on once teams are really trying to get at them? That's going to be something to look at, especially in the AFC North, where there's great pass rushing attacks in in Cleveland and Cincinnati.
Are you hearing it? You said it right. Baltimore too.
There's not. Who y'all got?
It's a committee.
It's a committee of 70 overall.
It's been a committee for the past 5 years.
Well, Justin used to have 14 last year. That's not committee. You know what I mean? I feel like we don't.
He had 14.
Yeah,
nah, Justin used to have 14
last year. I swear.
Nah, dog.
Tell me, isn't that right?
Nah,
I remember. He had a good year.
You had double-digit sacks last year.
I think Houston had 10.
Justin definitely led them in sacks. Hold on.
Yeah, he had
sacks by edge rusher since Terrell Suggs, dog.
Oh, 9.5.
9.5.
Yeah, 14. I was like,
I'm thinking of Alex Highsmith. I think Alex Highsmith was one of the ones that surprised you because they had 14.
Yeah, for sure.
But Yeah, I mean, like they lost their best pass rusher, and their best pass rusher last year was like 40. So that's the big issue with the Baltimore Ravens right now, right? Who is Matt Judon, right? Who is the young promising guy that's about to step up into this role? Because I know Sonny don't think it's Odafe Owe. We don't think it's Jadeveon Clowney. It's like, is it a Jabo? We have no idea. We've barely seen him play football.
Hopefully.
We're
talking about the Steelers. Let's go to the Steelers.
But anyways, back to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Look, it's no fret. I'm predicting them to win 9 games for a reason, because I done fell into that trap before. But we're gonna go 9 wins here. I think that's probably where they would hang around. I think they're gonna have some real issues though within the division. You look at Cincinnati, I think that's a team that can overpower them. You look at Cleveland, that's a team that can overpower them. You look at Baltimore, and they're a more talented team than Pittsburgh, so that might become a factor. But this is still a good team, right? They still got Minka, they still got TJ, they have some promising pieces on the offense. They're not a terrible team, they're not going to be abysmal. They just don't have that many ways to win. I think that's my big issue with this Pittsburgh Steelers team. They really only have one way to win, which is the classic Shanahan style. Like, okay, we're going to dink and dunk, do some play action, try to get some things going, keep the quarterback under 30 pass attempts, and kind of grind out a game like that. It's the Jacoby Brissett thing, right? What do you say?
The Andy Dalton diet.
It's the Andy Dalton diet. It's the Jacoby Brissett diet. It's just the diet that you use when, your quarterback isn't necessarily the best player on your offense, which is fine. And again, maybe Kenny makes me eat those words and he becomes one of the best young quarterbacks in the NFL. And I'll say that when I have to say that. But until then, he's Kenny Bridgewater. But yeah, I think that's probably where they're going to go. Just a limited way to win. If this team falls behind multiple scores, I think it becomes difficult for them offensively to keep up. Deontay Johnson and his red zone issues last year, that's still a thing that they have to be concerned about. And as good as George Pickens is, I still haven't seen anything that convinces me that like the route tree has evolved for him, or that he's evolved in any way that makes him better than what he was last year, right? Like I'm not seeing him do anything different. So I'm not necessarily sold that there's going to be this evolution from George Pickens. I think he's going to be a nice guy to have there, a good deep shot guy, a home run hitter for that team. But I don't know if he's going to be somebody dependable. And that's where they're going to really struggle on third downs this year, right? They don't really have a dependable option. Maybe it becomes Jaylen Warren. But that's the issue I see is offensively. I think this team, they're not going to be abysmal. I think they'll be better than abysmal. I think they'll be fine at times. I just think they're going to be limited, right? Kind of similar to what I said about the Browns offense last year. Not a bad offense, a limited offense, which means you got to keep those possessions low to win games. And you can only win but so many games when you have to win like that.
All right. I'm going to throw a couple super chats in here, and then we're going to throw it to Sonny for his Steelers prediction. Habitual line step for 199 super chat. Appreciate that, bro. Says the Steelers will finish 10-7, third in the division. Got one from Dom Gazzulo for $4.99. Appreciate that, Dom. Hot take: Cade York hits more 50-yard field goals than Justin Tucker.
Hey man, whatever he does on a different team, I'm cool with. Like, I wish
Dom must have been at happy hour today. He must have just got back home from happy hour. Nova Stone with a $2 super chat. Looking for a real stat. TB was in the Super Bowl 47% of his career.
With Tom Brady.
Professor Chaos, $2 super chat. Which team will have more sacks this season? That's a tough one.
Steelers.
It could be Steelers. It could be
the Browns.
It could be the Browns because they got 2. I think it's between those 2.
We're also not factoring in the fact that TJ Watt's clearly showing signs of regression. I mean, he regressed last year. He went from 20 sacks to what?
Sereno incoming super chat here.
Miles Garrett would never.
Ray Rags, $5 super chat. If the logo on the helmet wasn't the Steelers, nobody would be high on them. Ooh, the Steelers talk is getting crazy. Where you at, Tony?
No, I think people would. To the Steelers fans' defense, when your preseason goes as well as theirs has, any team's going to be excited. If that were the Browns, if that were the Cincinnati Bengals, if that were the Baltimore Ravens, if any team has that kind of a preseason, you're going to feel good about it. And you should feel good about it because in the absence of evidence, that's all you have, right? That doesn't guarantee that you're going to be a better team come the regular season.
There were years where we were like undefeated in the preseason and got mopped in the regular season.
Well, and it's like I will defend the Pittsburgh Steelers here. This will be the only time I do it. It's not that they're winning in the preseason. I think they're excited about. I think it's the fact that they look good when Kenny's out there, right? And they have legitimately looked a lot better when Kenny's out there. I just wonder, second-year quarterback, what happens when these aren't preseason defenses that are trying things and these are defenses that are trying to take things away from Kenny Pickett, right? What happens when they decide no more George Pickens, no more Pat Freiermuth in the middle of the field? You know, what happens there with Kenny Pickett? If he answers those questions early in the season, then they'll be a better team than I expect. But until I see those answers, I can't get carried away with it.
Yeah, Nova Stone with a $2 super chat. Then we're gonna throw this to Sonny. Y'all down talk Baltimore like they did Tampa Bay and the Pats. Baltimore.
Nobody was down talking Tom Brady and the Patriots. What are you talking about?
When has that ever happened?
This is Georgia talk about somebody said we were going to go 7-5. No, nobody was doing that. Who was out here doubting Tom Brady?
Nobody.
Nobody was down. Nobody's serious. Stop it. Stop.
Go ahead, Sonny.
So we talk about the Steelers' favorable schedule in the release show, right? I think their schedule was done to a T. 8 is their floor. There's no way. I learned my lesson. Tomlin at worst will go 8-1. He does not go below 500. He refuses to go below 500.
Let's throw that check down. Let's keep it going. You know what I mean? Let's not be crazy. Take the deep shot. There we go.
But
no.
I think that their ceiling is 11. No, I'm not going lower.
Okay.
I think their ceiling is 11 wins. I think they could win 11.
There's no shot their ceiling is 11.
Yeah, this how the schedule.
AFC? You gotta explain that to me, Sonny.
Who they get 11 on?
Look. I think like you see San Francisco. That's the best time to get San Francisco. It will be that week,
it's
right?
Week 1. Okay.
Yeah,
I can see that.
And then
I did have them losing to I think the Bills, and they surprised them and beat them.
Yeah, they come roaring in that week 1. Right?
What happens if they get an injury on offense?
Well, this is me, right? Not factoring injuries, right?
You got to with everybody though. Like we factor in injuries.
He's saying that Tomlin is gonna have some more black Air Force Ones week 1.
So
you need the black Air Force Ones on the Houston Texans.
Nah, they playing the 49ers.
No,
the 49ers. Okay, but like they're good in that.
Look, they have the Raiders, right? The Texans.
Yeah.
Assuming they like I said, I'm gonna assume split with everybody, right? The Packers, they can win the Packers. Like if I go through their schedule, let's say they lose to Seattle. Let's say they maybe lose to the Colts. That's 2. 3 in the division. That's 5, right? But those are the 5. And let's assume they lose to the Niners, right? That's 6 losses, right? So if they split in the division, that's 11-6. Like I said, that's my ceiling.
I think 11's high for their ceiling.
Well, that's the ceiling. That's their ceiling. I think they're gonna. In my opinion, I actually think they're gonna go 10. I'm buying too much into the hype. Hot take will be, I think TJ Watt. Man, thank God Tony's not here. But I think TJ Watt breaks the sack record.
This is punishment for me saying that the Ravens are going to go 8-9.
No. I think he breaks the sack record.
He's not.
That's I don't know, man.
I think
that's the record is. I guess that is a hot take. That is.
He tied it already, right? He tied it already. I think he breaks it.
No Baker Mayfield in this division anymore.
That is true.
I
think that the Steelers defense ends up being a top 5 defense. The question for me with the Steelers, it will go back to the linebackers, right? Like the problem that I see with the Steelers is how are teams gonna approach him? Because if I was anybody, right, Ravens, whoever, let me just run that B gap, right? Let me just run through them and see if they can stop the run. Anyway, trenches will be how they move, right? Versus the other teams, I don't know if they're trenches dependent, but the Steelers' defensive line is huge for them. And on this offense, it's gonna be how this new offensive line, constructed offensive line, will play, right? If they play cohesive and solid, this thing can be a problem. Yeah. So hot take will be breaks the record, and then I'm gonna go with Pickens will be the second best receiver in our division. In our division, I'm gonna go with Pickens, the second best receiving yardage. Because it's hard to say, right, touchdown. I'm gonna go with yardage. Yeah, I'm gonna go with yardage. He's the second receiving yards in our division. And I'm gonna go with Kenny Two Gloves. 15 picks. 15 picks.
15 picks. So I think Tony asked in the comments, he was like, if their floor is 9, how can they not win 11?
Nobody said what their floor was.
The way that I can see them doing that is like Sonny said, if they beat San Fran, if they, beat Jacksonville in Jacksonville, which is something that they haven't done in a while, or if they beat, Seattle, I could throw that in there because they do have some cupcakes in there. I still don't feel comfortable given I gotta see it. I don't know if they can beat San Francisco's a good team, but like Sonny said, they have beat good teams to open up the season before. So we'll have to see. But that is going to bring us to Cleveland. So we'll be going to the Browns next. Let me see if there's any super chats. I think there may be a few.
Pittsburgh's floor is like the 13th pick in the draft. Now, however many wins get you there, I think that's their floor is the 13th pick in the draft. Which my hot take for Pittsburgh will be that Cliff Kingsbury will find a way to get Caleb Williams dropped in the draft to 13th, and Pittsburgh's going to end up with Caleb Williams.
Nova Stone,
and it's going to be Cliff Kingsbury's last FU to me.
Nova Stone has a super chat here for $2. Remember, all the dynasty is over talk plus the Cliff. I do not, because I remember on here saying that the Bucks were going to win the Super Bowl.
This wasn't like everybody was saying it. Some people were saying that it might be over. Some people were like, no, it's Tom Brady. Like, he always has had people defend him. It's not the same. It's not the same.
Yeah, I've always defended Tom Brady, even over Aaron Rodgers. And so I know that I didn't say anything about Tom Brady falling off.
I was shocked that they won that Super Bowl. I'm not gonna lie.
What, the COVID one?
Yeah,
it doesn't count.
Y'all were sleeping on the defensive mind of their offensive coach, man. Or not their offensive coach, but y'all were sleeping on Todd Bowles. I was like, Todd Bowles is a defensive mastermind. But with that being said, we're gonna go to Cleveland. We'll kick it off with Q with your thoughts on the Browns.
See, I was strategic with how I did this, right? I'm not going to predict that like 3 teams in the AFC North about to win 10 games. You know what I mean? I was going to predict a very modest win total for some teams that I was not super high on. And then I'm going to go out and predict that the Browns are going to be a 12-win team in 2023. Now, that's a hot take because the Browns won 7 games last year, right? But obviously, this is a much different circumstance. If you look at every issue that the Cleveland Browns have had, there's a good enough reason to believe that problem is going to be significantly upgraded. We'll start at quarterback, right? If your worries were about Deshaun Watson, there's a significant enough reason to see that Deshaun's probably going to be much better this year, having a full offseason, being able to play and roll his progress that he's made in the offseason straight into the regular season instead of having to wait 11 days and then make a come back from a hiatus of 700 days. He gets to have his own offense, and he has pieces like Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore, and him have looked great in camp together. David Njoku, DPJ, you have some pieces there offensively. You also have Nick Chubb in the backfield with a great offensive line. If you look at the issues last year on defense, the Browns have gone out of their way to fix these problems. Defensive tackle, right? That rotation is completely different. It's Dalvin Thomas, it's Shelby Harris. Maurice Hurst has looked great in the preseason so far. And then there's Siaki Ika, who's been all right. You know what I mean? He's been all right. I don't expect much from him, but he's the fourth guy in the rotation. You look at edge, Zadarius and Miles is a huge, huge upgrade from what you had last year with Miles and Jadeveon Clowney. You also have Obo Okoronkwo, who had a lot of pressures, was promising last year as a depth piece for this Cleveland Browns edge room. And hopefully with the upgrade at defensive tackle, you get more from your linebackers, including a JOK, who is going to be under a new defense with Jim Schwartz. The Browns have attacked their issues, a safety, Juan Thornhill, and there is a true free safety instead of it being JJ3. So the Browns have attacked all of their issues. They have done more than attack those issues. They have more than satisfied to fix those problems. Another thing, if you don't think Deshaun Watson is going to play well, you're not going to be high on this Browns team. You're going to think that they're going to be a 6, 7, 8 win team, and that's fair. This Browns team will go as far as the quarterback goes. This roster has been a win now roster since 2018. Win percentages show that when they get above 70, Pro Football Focus says the starting level quarterback play, this is an 11 win team on average. When they don't get that, they kind of stink, right? Because they have a very small margin of error to win these games, because that's what quarterback gives you, is a wide margin of error. So all of these things kind of add up to me. I think Deshaun's going to come back and look closer to 2020, 2019 Deshaun than he did last year. And I think that's going to make a huge difference for this team. Look, Baker Mayfield was able to get 11 wins with this core, and this is a better roster than what Baker Mayfield had in 2020. If Deshaun Watson plays better than Baker Mayfield and his team is better than Baker Mayfield, they could get to 12 wins. I think that's very realistic for this team. We'll see how they hold up with injuries, but this is a team with a lot of top end talent, but still a lot of depth there. You look at all of the roster rankings, the Browns ranked super high in all these roster rankings. It's not a coincidence, right? So that's where I have the Browns. I think they're going to be a 12-win team. I think for the first time in the show's history, I'm predicting them to go and win first place in this division with no caveats, no ifs, ands, or buts. I think Deshaun should be better. I think this team will be better because he's better offensively. And I think defensively, the upgrade to Jim Schwartz and the upgrades they made to this roster will be enough to where we finally see this talent realized for this team, and they will be one of the best teams in AFC.
Well, I know you said that the record prediction was a hot take. Any other hot takes for anybody on the roster?
JOK will be better than Roquan Smith. Let's see. I think I'll say Myles Garrett's gonna get 20 plus sacks this year and win Defensive Player of the Year. So I'll go there. I think he's going to be really good. I think this Browns team will be in the top 5 in pressures and sacks. If that's a hot take, I don't think it is, but I think people will consider that a hot take. And offensively, I think Elijah Moore and Amari Cooper will be 2 of the 4 most productive wide receivers in the North.
Okay. So I will give my predictions on the Browns. For me, I think the Browns are a super talented team. I think it does kind of hedge on Deshaun Watson. Whether I've made the joke he's still in there somewhere, which it wasn't even a joke. It was really an accurate take, but then it turned into a joke.
Just decided to ruin that thing. And that's why we fired him from the show.
So for me, the only thing I think standing in the way of the Browns winning, possibly 12 games is just the schedule with how hard it is. If you were to swap this schedule with the Steelers schedule, I'd probably look at it and say that the Browns have a
Ain't it
chance.
crazy how they finished in third place, got an easier schedule? Ain't that crazy how it works out for them? Ain't it crazy how it works out for Pittsburgh? Always.
That is wild.
Rigged.
But I do think that this is a team that probably does have less questions than Baltimore. They still have to prove certain things that like Deshaun Watson is going to be closer to 2019, 2020. I don't really like, a lot of people will probably say they got to prove that the run defense is going to be better based off of the personnel alone, which we kind of figured that based off of last year. The drastic change in personnel, I don't think that the run defense will be as questionable as it was last year. And then they've upgraded with their question at defensive coordinator. We're bringing in an established guy like Jim Schwartz. Like I said with Baltimore, how long does it take for that system to kick in? I don't think it should take too long because I think he's already put in aspects of his defense and personnel that he's brought over, like Zadarius Smith, to kind of do that. They're going to play more cover 1, cover 3, which I think is, cover 1 is going to suit what they do, especially with those 3 corners. The interesting thing for me is, what does the offense turn into with Deshaun Watson in year 2 of this system, being paid all of that money? Do they continue to be a run offense, or are they more of a passing offense where they're passing at a percentage of 60 plus? That is going to be the interesting thing for me to see, because I still think Nick Chubb is probably their best offensive weapon, but is he going to be the identity of their offense with them now having Elijah Moore in there, with them having Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones? They also paid the tight end a lot of money, so clearly they want to pass the ball. That's going to be an interesting dynamic. But I think what it comes down to, I think the first six games on this schedule seems to be, to me at least, the toughest part. I think that second stretch after that, after they get past the San Francisco game, they get some easier games. So you got Indy, Seattle, Arizona. That lightens it up a little. And then you go right back into the divisional games. And then you get Denver at Mile High Stadium. So, like, if they were playing that game at home, I probably would give it to the Browns. But Mile High conditions are always unpredictable. Then they get into the Rams. You get into Jacksonville, Chicago, winnable games, Houston. And then you end strong with the Jets and Cincinnati. So, I have them at 9 wins for this season, but I think the ceiling could be possibly 10. If Deshaun Watson is who he is, then I think they go maybe 10, maybe 11. But as of now, just based off of the schedule, with it being tough from my perspective, I'm not saying that it is gonna, and I'm not going off of, I don't do the whole strength of schedule thing. I just look at the teams that are on the paper. I think it's just a tough schedule for them. So I've got them at 9. And for me, I think it's going to be between them and the Steelers kind of battling it out with those respective records. Maybe even the Ravens, if the Ravens fall off. So they could finish anywhere, in my opinion, from 2nd to 3rd or 4th. So that's what my prediction is. Sonny, go ahead and get into yours, bro.
Yeah, it's interesting. I do like the Browns roster overall. I think that first quarter of the season, well, I guess it's not a quarter now, there's 17 games, but you guys know what I'm saying.
Well, there's a bye in there, so it's like 4.
Yeah, well, okay, yeah, that's true. But that first 4 games, it's gonna tell you a lot how this Browns team on the defensive side against the run is gelling. Not necessarily against the Bengals, because the Bengals typically don't run as much. But Pittsburgh's gonna be a run-heavy team. Tennessee, is a run-heavy team. And Baltimore, even if we go to the more on the passing side, they're gonna kick with some of the runs, schemes that the Ravens have been doing in the past, and even the San Francisco game. But at that point, even if the run defense hasn't been super productive, they had the bye week, even though it's in San Francisco. Having that bye week helps a lot, going to San Francisco for any adjustments that needs to happen. Look, I don't think they go sub 500. I actually don't think none of these teams are going to go sub 500. There was the first year that they did the 7 teams, the Steelers didn't make the playoffs, but they were almost about to. I can see this 4 teams battling to make the playoff. All 4 teams, right? I'm not saying all 4 teams will get it. That would be crazy if they did. But the team that doesn't make it, it's gonna be from the outside looking in. Like it will be competitive all the way to the end. I think their floor is 9. So I'm some way in between you two. I think that the ceiling for me is 12. The floor is 9, right? But I think this team has everything to be competitive, not only for a playoff spot, for a Super Bowl. Is how this team gels, right? I think my biggest thing with Cleveland is how they gel every year, right? Like that defense has all the names to be good every year. How do they gel? How do they play, right? The offensive line has been name-wise strong, but it feels like they have underachieved from what we expect from them in the past couple of years. Running backs have been great every year, so I'm not even talking about them. And then Watson, right? Watson, I think Q said it's true for every team. You go as far as your quarterback takes you, but once you pay that QB, this is what I said also to my Ravens fan, right? Now you pay Lamar. There's no like, well, he's still young now. I pay you. Now you need to perform to X expectations all the time, right? So that's the same thing for the John Watson. This team has been in win mode for a couple of years now. I like him a lot. I think they make the playoffs. I'm gonna go with 11 wins. For the Browns. I think the Browns are a strong team. I think they can make a lot of noise. I think this first 4 games. I don't know how Q feels, but if I was a Browns fan, I would love those first 4 games because it's early in the season. That if we have gaps, if we have holes, if we need adjustments, it's early in the season that you can see them. You have a bye, you can adjust and move forward.
I think the most important part is that you see all 3 division teams in that 4-week span, and then you get a bye.
Yeah, true. Um, Receiving wise, look, my problem with Elijah Moore, because some people came like, you don't respect Elijah. My problem with Elijah Moore, I liked him coming out of college. I haven't seen him producing, right? Um, he could be great. I mean, I liked him coming out of college. This is his chance, right? Amari Cooper is a solid receiver. And Deshaun Jackson, Deshaun Watson, I think he's gonna use him well. I actually think Watson should be at the end of the year for the comeback player of the year, but I don't know if they're gonna give it to him. But he's definitely gonna be in consideration for sure.
Well, there's gonna be what's his DeMar Hamlin. He might.
Right, that's true. He's gonna win it. He's that's a lock.
He came
That's
back
a
from
lot.
death, so
Yeah,
that might,
yeah.
that's a little bit more heroic than coming back from what Deshaun came back from.
That is true. That is definitely true. Like I said, I think the Browns. Oh, so hot take will be for me. I do think Miles gets to the 20. I just think TJ is gonna be over him. Um, I think Amari. And you see, the thing is with the Browns, I think you're gonna see a very balanced team, right? I think you get your Chubb 1,300 yards. I think Amari Cooper gets around 1,200. Elijah Moore will be in the 6 to 7. I think DPJ is gonna be in the 6 to 7. I think Njoku gets his 5 to 6. Right, very balanced team across the board. I think the O line is gonna go back to being a solid O line. I think Deshaun Watson is probably around 3,500 yards. I think they're gonna be a really good offense. The defense, on the other hand, that's the question for me. Can they go to their potential? If they do, we're talking about a team that is going to be a scary, nasty team. Yeah, I think they're going to be good overall. I don't think hot takes per se, because I think they're going to see a lot of distribution of stat lines, right? Miles getting 20, I think it will happen. I think also this is the year that Miles stays healthy for the most part, because having more depth in the D line, having the sidekick as Zedarius, it's gonna allow him to maybe not take the pounding that his body takes every snap, every play, every time he's there, right? The hope is the Cleveland also can probably monitor his usage and maybe bring him down a little bit so he can last the whole season. But yeah, I think this is just the year that he goes 17. He's never been a full season, right?
He's had a full season before.
Oh, he has. Okay.
Yeah.
But Okay, so I think he goes full season.
Only what he missed the COVID year, the Mason year, and then he missed a game last year, but he played like 16 games last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think overall the Cleveland team is obviously Cleveland was fourth last year, but I think they have the potential to go from fourth to first. And like I said, I think even the Steelers, although I think it will be crazy if they finish first. I for me that would be my biggest surprise if they go from third to first. But I will not be as surprised if the Browns go from fourth to first. So yeah.
All right. Let me get into a couple of super chats, then we can wrap up here. So we've got Cleveland doing pretty well this season. I think all of the teams, honestly, we got pretty much duking it out in this division. It's going to be tight, regardless of what record predictions we had. I think if you look at everybody, it's pretty much within a couple of games with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Gaggin S for $5 here says the Browns have 3 edges in the top 25 of pressure rate and 2 in the top 25 PFF.
Tony will be proud. Tony will be proud for the pressure rate.
He would have
until he said PFF, and then he'd be like,
"Ah." He said PFF. Oh,
because PFF told him the truth. You know what I mean?
Ray Rags has a $5 super chat. Appreciate that, Ray Rags. Hot take. I think Nick Chubb will have 1,400 plus rushing yards, and Watson will break the single season Browns passing yards and TD records.
I can't imagine those are high.
That is true.
Like, I'm serious. Like, what the last time, what Bernie Kosar probably said it, like, it's got to be in the low 4,000s. And then what, maybe 30 touchdowns? Yeah, I can't. Because Baker didn't break him when he got 26. So, yeah, I think it's probably like 28 or something like that. And so, I mean, it would be nice if he could do it, because obviously that means he's going on to bigger things, but you would want to see Deshaun get better. The thing I worry about, and I'm shocked nobody else brought this up with Deshaun, is the sack numbers, right? Like, that's the one thing with him that you look at and you go, this is not like everybody else. You look at Pat Mahomes, you look at Josh Allen, they don't have the egregious sack numbers that he has. And part of the reason he has that is because of how he plays. If he wants to hit that next level, I think that's where he has to fix his game to get elite. He gets behind his sticks too much. That's been a constant throughout his whole career. So, you know, I think a lot of like, hey, can Deshaun Watson get elite? I think the conversation is about, you know, how many sacks does he take? Because he took 68 in one season, 44, 45.
Yeah, he holds the ball.
Yeah, he holds the ball, and sometimes he blows his own death too when he does his drops out of shotgun too. So, you know, it's about minimizing those things and not taking as many sacks. I think that will help him in this offense become elite.
Hey,
right.
Before we keep going, who do you think was how much yardage, and who do you think is the guy with the most yardage in Browns history?
It might be Derek Anderson.
No.
And then if it's not Derek Anderson, it's not Bernie Kosar, because he played with 2 running backs. It's probably Brian Sipe.
Yes, who he is. How much do you think he threw in the
1979 MVP.
Huh? 1980 is what it says.
Yeah, 1980 MVP. So
the offensive guy pulling on the defender.
Yeah, so I would say, how many yards was it? Like 4,200?
Close, which is kind of crazy for that year. 41-32.
It's nuts for the 80s. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then how many touchdowns is a single season record? 28?
He has it too with 30. That's
30.
Year.
Nah. Yeah, so the bar's not high. Let's be honest. Like it's not a low bar, but it's a pretty obtainable bar for Deshaun. I think he's achieved those numbers before. So
30 definitely.
LJ, Nova Stone for $2 here. LJ will carry a mid roster like Tom Brady did for 20 years.
We say this about Tom Brady, and then we talk about the great Patriots teams he was on. Hey, let's not act like the Tampa Bay rosters were mid. Like, can we not act like those rosters were mid? Like, are we gonna act like those rosters were mid?
No, that roster was good. Tampa Bay.
He chose Tampa Bay because the roster specifically was not mid. Like, what are you talking about?
Ray Rags, another super chat here for $2. NFL hot take: Jets don't make the playoffs.
Ooh, that's flaming.
I'm surprised the Jets fans.
You know, I'm going to go reverse with that. I think there's a chance that the Bills are either like a easy out, like you want to play the Bills in week 1, or they just don't make the playoffs.
No. Terrell Williams here, he says, tries to take a slander at Q. We're not going to read that one. Oz has the $5.
He wants my predictions to be hopes because he probably cheers for one of the teams I said wasn't going to be that good.
Oz, $5 super chat. Everyone says the Browns have had a great roster for 3 years now, yet they still finish last. Why should this year be any different?
Well, this is the first year since 2018 that they have finished in last place. They've been in third place the last few years. So do your research. 2, were you not listening to anything I said, Oz, where I was talking about the big differences? Quarterback, how you feel about Deshaun Watson will change where this team is. If you don't think Deshaun Watson is going to be an upgrade at quarterback over Jacoby Brissett last year, then you should not think this team's going to win a ton of games. If you think he is a significant upgrade to that, more along the lines of like better than what Baker was in 2020, there's no reason to believe this team's not good, because when the quarterback's been good, when they have had decent quarterback play, this team has won games, been able to go at it with the best teams in the NFL. Like they get good quarterback play against the Bengals. They end up being able to compete with the team like the Bengals, despite the fact that the Bengals are a better team record-wise, because they're a quarterback away. Again, how you feel about Deshaun's going to dictate what your expectations for the Browns are going to be, but don't act like you don't know why people might think it might be different this year. Obviously, it's number 4.
Plus in the defense, right? They definitely went and upgraded on their on the places where they had the biggest holes.
The point I'm making is if they would have made those same upgrades to the defense, but Baker Mayfield or Jacoby Brissett's the quarterback still, nobody's expecting anything to change. It's going to be the same level of team, 8-9, 9-8. The quarterback's the only reason that anybody feels comfortable going above 10 games.
Yeah, true.
Terrell Williams, $2. He says, York alone will lose y'all 6 games.
I mean, I would hope he gets cut before he costs you 3.
Ray Rags for $5 says another hot take: Week 18, Browns and Bengals will be for the division.
Yeah, man. You think the Bengals gonna still be around in Week 18? That's crazy. It's a hot
take. Ray Rags, $5. I appreciate that again. It says it was 1980. Brian Sipe said the stats. He won MVP that year. All right, well, that is going to wrap it up for tonight.
It's
definitely be sure to make sure.
It's possible to try to break those numbers, and people are still like, yeah, he didn't have an impressive year. Like, he was better in 2020.
Yeah, definitely be sure to make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. The season is starting to gear up, and with the season gearing up, please be sure to become a member of the Patreon. We'll be dropping all sorts of exclusive content, plus doing our shout outs to our patrons: Adam Holland, Dom Gazzulo, Luis Cousin, Leo Sell, Ray Rags, Wesley Rural, and Christian Robb. So definitely be sure to join that. We do the AFC North Talk Locks of the Week. We do a lot of gambling stuff over there. Plus, we do like emergency pods if there's any big news in the AFC North. So definitely be sure you tap in there. You can find that under the Patreon AFC North Talk. So if you Google those terms, the Patreon link will come up. We appreciate that. Go ahead, Q.
Is anybody willing to do the Kenny Pickett Pro Bowl hot take? Is anybody willing to take it?
I mean,
Sonny,
I can take it as an alternate.
You're the only candidate that's willing to take
Andy get into the Pro Bowl one year.
Well, in the AFC, they let Andy Dalton's no longer the example.
They let Huntley in.
That's why Tyler Huntley in.
Tyler Huntley.
It's possible.
Yeah, they let Tyler Huntley in. Do they let Kenny Pickett in? Do you think he gets a Pro Bowl selection?
Selection? No. As an alternative, yes.
As an alternate, yes.
What level alternative? First alternative? First alternative is still kind of valid. Do you put him at first alt? Is he going to
No.
have that kind of a year?
Third alternative.
Third alt? I don't even know if they do third alternatives.
That's how
do.
Huntley
They
got
do.
in. I think it was third.
T. Higgins was
How-
like a third team alternative, and people were like,
That's
what?
crazy. That's crazy. They be disrespecting T, man.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Anybody in chat willing to take that Kenny Pickett Pro Bowl hot take?
Oh, the
Come on.
Steelers fan.
Yeah, Steelers, come on. Hey, y'all so hype about him. Say it. Say the thing. Say he's gonna be a Pro Bowler in the chat if you're so hype about him.
Somebody said the 9th.
By the way, Steelers fans, you know who had a tremendous preseason in 2019?
Who?
Baker Mayfield.
Baker. Yeah. Baker.
Did it again in 2021.
Well, that will wrap the show up. He is Quincy Carrier. I am Ace Boogie, and he is Sonny, SCG Sports. Hope you guys appreciated it. At one point, we had over 300 people in here, so we appreciate that. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and we'll come to you guys next week. But this has been AFC North Talk.
He's out.